subscribe. Tariq Radio. Like and subscribe.
Black people in America benefited from slavery. That's factual. If it weren't true, all the black people whining and complaining about being here in America would leave America because there would have been no benefits. But because there have been great benefits, black people are still here. I said it. It's the truth. Everyone knows it's the truth.
Yeah, what's going on, FBA fam? Y'all all right?
We're good. Glitch, how are you, brother?
Pretty good, pretty good. Yep, so just talking about, the tethers in Africa and, just some of the white supremacist talking points that they use. One of them is that, black Americans complain a lot and we're the richest black people in the world. You know what I mean? And that's just, it's what that does is that actually makes Africa look bad.
Mm.
How do you have your own continent with all these countries and all these resources, and we're over here as a minority with no resources, and we still have more than you, which is very weird.
Yes, indeed.
It just makes them look bad. They think it makes us look bad. Makes you look bad.
My man, I appreciate you, Glitch. That reminded me of something. Do y'all see Jason Whitlock's big chunky ass? Well, y'all probably, he's always saying something Sambo-ish, but there's a video clip somebody sent me of him talking about it. And look, I know he's performative. I know he just says stuff in order to try to go viral, but he was like, yeah, I'm going to say it. Black Americans benefited from slavery. Black Americans benefited a whole lot from slavery. If you didn't benefit, you would have left already. But yeah, I'm saying that slavery was beneficial to Black Americans. And we know that he's trying to trying to get him some extra butter biscuits. And that's the white supremacist line. They think, well, when they try to portray slavery as some type of come up for us. Well, if you weren't enslaved, you'd be in Africa starving, right? It's that type of narrative that they like to promote. Reject that. Listen, we didn't benefit from no damn slavery. Let's get that together. Slavery was a crime against humanity. That wasn't a pathway to no damn benefit. Slavery in America, that was a system of kidnapping, rape, torture, forced labor, cultural genocide. To say that the victims of that benefited from their assault? No, that's an immoral distortion. That's like saying a woman benefited from rape. Well, you got some money, yeah, so you benefited from it. You benefit from getting raped. You got a payment afterwards. No. Yeah, intergenerational trauma is not no damn benefit. Foundational Black Americans who were enslaved, we suffered generational trauma, mental, emotional, physical scars that's been passed down. They've done epigenetic research showing that trauma can imprint on your DNA. So, our communities today, we're still addressing this unresolved harm. That's not a benefit. Systematic economic theft and no economic advancement, that's not what benefit. We produce trillions of dollars in wealth. You understand? That these people have locked us out of. Yeah? And after slavery, they threw us out here like, okay, zero generational wealth, while white America was just rolling in all of the money and resources we accumulated for them. Where is the damn benefits? That wealth gap is still alive to this damn day. You understand? Where's the benefit? That notion of a better life, that's historically false. That y'all would have been worse in Africa. No. Because again, some of us were already here, and some of the African nations thousands of years ago, they were advanced, stable, thriving before European intervention. Yeah. And also structural racism that's still ongoing. That's a legacy of slavery. The reason why we have all of this insane racism now, that racism now that we have was born out of slavery because they needed a reason to justify dehumanizing us. So they had to come up with all of these racist tropes that are still alive today. That is not a benefit. You understand? Jim Crow, redlining, mass incarceration, police brutality, that what benefit? Those are the benefits? Yeah. Slavery, it tried to suppress our cultural development. It didn't enhance it. You understand? Those are white supremacist talking points. See, the thing is, the truth is, we started benefiting in spite of slavery. You understand? We started benefiting and accumulating certain levels of success in spite of what these white supremacists did. See, we had to forge a distinct ethnic identity through survival. You understand? We developed a resilient, cohesive culture rooted in a shared struggle in spite of these people harming us, in spite of them trying to erase us, erase our culture, spiritually crush us. You know, we got benefits on our own in spite of what they did. We had to show cultural brilliance as a weapon of resistance. Everything we've done great was in resistance to what these people were doing, family. You understand what I'm saying? When we start having our music forms, those were forms of resistance. Jazz and blues, these were resistance art forms. Fashion, dance, the way we made food, that was resistance. That wasn't a benefit that they gave us. So when we got out of slavery, we had to build self-sustaining communities on our own, which these people tore down, and we had to keep rebuilding over and over again. Where's the benefit from them? See, we after slavery, these people just drained our resources. We had limited resources, but we had a collective will in spite of the limited resources to build thriving communities. We looked out for each other in spite of the anti-Black war and the white terrorism that they launched on us. Them burning down Tulsa, that wasn't a benefit. Them burning down Wilmington, that wasn't a benefit. Them putting freeways in our prosperous areas after we built them in spite of their racism, that wasn't a benefit. No, we don't give them props at all. That's Sambo talk. You know, we created political movements that changed the nation. We led movements that forced America to expand civil rights for all people, immigrants and other so-called minorities. The benefits were coming from us. Yeah, that's where the damn benefits were coming from. And then we had to establish institutions independently, our schools, churches, civic organizations, businesses. We were building these things in spite of these terroristic ass white supremacists. We had to have spiritual elevation in the face of them trying to dehumanize us. These people were putting false Christianity on us, a false form of it. We had to reinterpret it through our spirit of Majara so that it can be interpreted the right way. You understand? We had to reinterpret Islam, just like our great brother, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, so that it would be practiced the right way. So we had a spiritual alchemy that helped foundational Black Americans remain psychologically and spiritually grounded in spite of slavery and white supremacy. We had to be innovative under these systematic constraints. You understand? The George Washington Carvers, the Madam C.J. Walkers. We had to build things out of necessity. The reason why people like Madam C.J. Walker, they became so wealthy is because y'all listen, y'all understand after slavery, white snake oil salesmen would go around the country and go around the Black communities selling Black women hair products that took their damn hair out. They would sell them some bullshit ass products, and it was tearing their hair up. So these sisters said, "Hey, let's work with some of these root workers and get some of these herbs, and let's put some products that's going to be more beneficial to your hair." So we were doing things in spite of what these folks were doing to us. Madam C.J. Walker created direct marketing as we know it, her and Annie Malone. They created what Amway does, and I talked about this before. Amway, Mary Kay, all of that direct marketing where you have multi-tiered um, salespersons working for a corporation, and then they bring somebody in, and then they get a cut. They bring somebody in, then they get a cut. That started with Annie Malone and Madam C.J. Walker, and they did that out of necessity because of Jim Crow. You had to have certain networks of people in order to communicate with and get down with. We had things like the Green Book, so we had to have little networks of people who we dealt with in order to be safe because we were living in hostile environments in Jim Crow. That's not a benefit given to us by them. That's something that we created for ourselves in spite of their damn terrorism. We got to put stuff like that in context. And I get it. I know that Jason Whitlock is a big, fat, juicy Sambo. I know it. I know that. And him saying stuff and people like him who say stuff like that, look, when they start talking all of that Sambo nonsense, that slavery was a benefit and oppression was a benefit. You know, the Sambo class who's been defeated, psychologically defeated, they have to say that stuff. That's a survival mechanism for people who are mentally defeated. People who say that stuff, they have internalized depression. They have to cope with the pain of their own defeat. They're not going to resist, so they got to rationalize injustice so they can avoid the discomfort of acknowledging their compromised position. And, you know, they'll trade their dignity for proximity to power. You know, they need access to white approval, white platforms, so they can get little financial gains. They try to be the safe Negro. They'll try to echo the white supremacist narratives so they can get a couple of butter biscuits. We know that. That's them doing a public display of loyalty to the oppressor. Anybody saying slavery was a benefit, they're showing I'm loyal to white daddy. They're doing performative subversions so they can just keep getting scraps off masses' table. They've abandoned the ancestral struggle. You understand? They try to do this self-denigrating, masquerading as realism. You know, they try to, oh, I'm just keeping it real. I'm gonna keep it 100. No, you Samboing. You're not, that white supremacist has been saying that nonsense forever. You're trying to get a bag. You're a self-hating Sambo who's trying to get a damn bag. Just say that. Yeah? You're trying to mask your cowardice as intellectualism. See, a lot of these people have been psychologically defeated, and then they try to get into this fake intellectualism, like they're doing some deep takes about how adversity makes you stronger and all. Adversity caused by systematic evil is not a blessing, and trying to frame it like that, that's just cowardice. Because you know, these Sambos know if we're back in slavery, they'd be right there in the big house rubbing masses' butt cheeks. And big juicy Sambo, Jason Whitlock, yes, he ain't about to miss a meal. He ain't missing a meal for nothing. So he's gonna be right up under the table getting plantation scraps.
In your soul, you wear blue work you're in control.